Walk us through why nationalizing and forcing a mark on some of those bad assets, in your opinion, is a better thing to do than to simply sort of backstop them and hang around and see what these Godzilla banks do.
Well, we need to have the process of recapitalizing these banks so there's confidence in the banking system. Overall, what we're seeing right now is that the government process, just pure nationalization may help some of the players that absolutely need the capital and aren't going to remain solvent in the interim period. But what we really need to see is the government backstop some of the losses on some of the deteriorating assets in order to attract private capital. And that's really the ultimate missing link here. Is that what we need to see is that private capital needs to be attracted to some of these financial assets in order to be able to, increase the viability and the long-standing viability of these institutions.
I guess the question that brings up is, why should the U.S. taxpayer insure a bunch of bad assets created by a bunch of folks who made themselves a few $billion in the process so that somebody else in the private market can come in and buy those assets on the cheap? What's the incentive for the taxpayer to do that deal?
Well, I think ultimately the incentive there is because the alternative is, frankly, quite worse.
What worse for who? The people running the banks or the taxpayer?
Well, it's worse for the economy at large, and then ultimately it'll be worse for for each of those major stakeholders. But ultimately, what we envision for the financial sector, and granted, what's going to be left over for the equity holder here for the financials is still under great debate, and we remain cautious that there will be much left over for the equity holders, and we have an underweight in our sector strategy on both the banks and the diversified financials. But what we need to see is more detail from Washington, quite frankly, on what is going to be this financial stabilization plan, and that's really what markets are disappointed in. And there was a great euphoria leading up to last Tuesday's.
Yeah, we were there. Don't remind us.